Yeah. Alright. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Azuka here. Whew. I think the Pickman phase should be starting in a second. The clean feed doesn't seem to be showing it, so hopefully I'm gonna switch over to this one. Hopefully, Pickman phase for this one is going to work. Oh, yes. Okay, maybe not as well as I thought it would. Damn it. All right, so Pickman thing ready. It's gonna be very glitchy for me. For some reason, when I do it, I don't know why it worked the last time when I don't. It's like when I don't have it recorded or something. Maybe it's because I'm using a Windows capture? Let me just turn this off for a second. Let me turn this Windows capture off, see if it's working correctly again. That means I'll need to use a monitor capture? No, doesn't look like it's working properly anyway, regardless. Whoop. Alright, so the numbers don't appear correctly, but it will update or it will crash on me every time something new happens. We saw a ban for Kuruk Castle for AoE. Oh my goodness. I want to see if the clean feed's any better. Oh, wrong clean feed. Nope, clean feed's not working. I mean, clean feed hadn't switched over. Never mind. Okay, so updating. SSR banned Heilong Fjord. Linwu Fortress pick from SSR and a Linwu Fortress pick from AoE. So we got the small maps this time. Interesting to see Linwu Fortress. This is probably the first time in the knockout phase. We have seen Linwu Fortress during the qualifiers. Linwu Fortress is interesting mainly because the last point is completely impossible for cavalry to get up. Which makes me wonder, the pick bans will probably be very infantry centric, but it could also lead to some kind of cavalry dominance in the mid part. So we do get two cavalry bans, which is super interesting. Both Cataphracts and Liao Rangers get banned out by SSR. So since SSR went first with the two bans, we're going to see AoE go in with a double ban next. Then I'm pretty sure followed by their safe pick, and then SSR will do a safe pick and their ban, and then finally the last ban coming out from AoE. I think that's how it works. Whoa, Shenji Grenadiers and Siphonatis. It's an interesting. It's always an interesting ban to get rid of the range units. Not very many range. You don't need a lot of range units, but one or two of them will definitely mess up your day. And I don't believe that these team will allow them to kind of screw up. Well, allow anyone to really ruin anything at this point. So there goes a Zycalian militia ban. I mean, sorry, a Zycalian safe pick. Does that means that AoE is going to rely on the Zycalians in this case? SSR will probably do their safe pick and their ban. So a ban on Daggerak Lancers, a triple cavalry ban. They're really afraid of cavalry. And a safe pick on the Myrmillones. The Myrmillion the Myrmillion Milliones. Interesting to keep them around, but not surprising that they would suspect that they would be banned. Most interesting ban out of the bunch, the Samachian Stalwarts. Oh my goodness. I think that's one of the most interesting bans because either side is going to have a very difficult time either pushing or defending. Stalwarts are probably one of your strongest holding units in the game. So that's going to be very interesting. And hello, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have just watched the pick ban phase for AoE versus SSR, and I think it was one of the more uh, interesting picks and bans because, I mean, double Linwy Fortress. We've both Linwy Fortress, so it's a 10v10 map. Um, Triple Cavalry coming out from SSR with a safe pick of Myrmillones, while AoE double bans Shenji Grenadiers and Siphonarios, so heavy infantry disruptors, keeping the Zykllian militia around though. But a ban on the stalwart, I mean, the stalwarts is probably going to be the most interesting thing that would probably have happened. I think the stalwart is the craziest ban. I think the stalwarts is the craziest ban. They're cheap. I mean, at only 240, these guys are really good value. Even if some of the tier 5s are really strong, the stalwarts in toe to toe will probably kill at least half of your tier 5s, and they're not bad against cavalry. The best part about them is their potential to soaking up damage. They've got a natural heal. They have a block. They have a block break reduction passive as well. So nothing to scoff at when we're talking about facing stalwarts. From the front, they're basically unbeatable. A good old Iron Reaper charge will probably mess them up. And Myrmillones as well will definitely wreck them into two pieces. But that is the pick ban phase. We should be seeing a switch over to we should be switching over to the clean feed in a second. Give me a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot of shield maidens. SSR picking Myrmillones as a safe pick is probably going to bring a lot of Myrmillones. They're cheap. They're really strong charge. So I don't believe Iron Reapers will be. I don't believe Iron Reapers will be chosen mainly because Myrmillones' charge is just superior. And they're cheaper. The cheaper, they're cheaper, better at holding, and of course, like more effective. Uh, Iron Reapers, I love Iron Reapers, and I love the buff onto them, but they're just not strong enough. The power of the shield units is just uncontrollable right now. The three, if the three units of any out of any all of the units, the three units that I think that will be the most interesting ban, if anyone actually bans any of them, Stalwarts, Myrmillones, and Shield Maidens. If all three of those are banned, I'm just super interested how they're going to deal with halberdiers, water rushes, even even Medals, in fact. Because once you get rid of those three major shield units, a lot of the pike units start coming up, becoming really powerful. The next go-to thing. And I do also believe that there is still a complete meta with tier 3 halberdiers coming in as the kind of filler. That filler pick is very powerful and can be used to great effect. And not to mention, I mean, I was just proven. I was talking with a guy just recently. It's actually better to go top line now because the effects from top line against infantry is just so much more powerful with shields becoming increasingly stronger. So not only does the block break from the top line comes into effect, 10% damage to infantry also you're going to be as strong against cavalry as you were, even if you don't go bottom line. That 20% against cavalry is not really that effective. But you also have to remember, halberdiers don't have that natural stun on raise. Halberdier sergeants have that stun on raise, so they're fairly more terrifying. But nonetheless, I think a combination of Fort Rushers with tier 3 regular halberdiers is going to be the most scariest setup if you don't have access to those 3 shield units. A stalwart will just walk right up into them. Which line for Forte? I do think the Forte line, you just want to go with the the +1. So it's going. I'm pretty sure it's the top line one. As much as making them tankier is really good, you never really want to be in a situation where they get hit. So definitely don't pick. I would definitely not go with a bottom line Forte Brasher unless you're doing some kind of um. In this case, it's just like you're using the Fort Brasher as like a frontliner. It would be a weird combination. So basically, if you had one Fort Brasher that needed to take damage, a bottom line Fort Brasher would be a go-to, and then you would have a second Fort Brasher behind it. So if you're doing multiple Fort Brashers and you can kind of work that out, that would probably get you more efficiency per unit. But if we're talking about just isolated, like, if we're just talking about a unit, what do you think is going to be the most versatile or the most effective? Again, double down on Fort Brusher's damage potential. You don't want to split to defensiveness because if you are getting hit as a Fort Brusher, you're pretty much just going to lose the unit. So no point anyway. You want to keep it inside a formation. You want to keep it spread out. Make sure you have the widest area of effect and the strongest effect as possible. So you definitely want that +1. They have a natural knockback, which is quite underestimated, if I do say so. It's something that people kind of forget a lot. So when they kind of walk into a Fort Rusher, they they make the mistake of not kind of expecting to get knocked back. I've seen so many units get knocked back from trying to waltz right into a Fort Brasher, and it's hilarious. So we're still waiting on members from, I believe, SSR here doing the first attack. That was very quite strange that they're not here yet. We are watching a clean feed, 3 minutes delay, so hopefully they get here shortly. I do think I like I do think I like the idea that Linwu Fortress brings about. It is a map where, well, it's supposed to be a 10v10 map, but I don't know why there's 11 AoE members. Last time I checked, Linwu Fortress was a 10v10 map, but I could be wrong about that right now because there's 11 players from AoE there ready for Linwu. For Shield Maidens, I definitely think that Shield Maidens is deserving of another nerf. Definitely not something you want. Yeah, it should be a 10v10. I thought so as well. I think Linwu Fortress is one of the more balanced maps, to say the least. You see, they don't really. Okay, so I think I think the devs kind of rely on balanced maps more than just putting all the maps in. So when they try to go for balanced maps or interesting maps, so they Angolia was an interesting map. No one really played it because it's a fucking terrible map to attack, and so I don't know why they add those ones as well. I'm making a little bit of assumptions here, but I think the developers just put in maps thinking that they're fun to watch. Linwy Fortress, I will have to agree that it is kind of fun to watch, but it can be a complete shutout really easily because it's actually really difficult to gain any kind of a advantage from a front on from either side, and the defending side just normally just gets them killed as well. You're kidding, right? Wait, no, is that legal? You can't do it. You can't do a player change. You can't do a player change this late in the game, can you? What? Oh man, I thought that they locked in the 20 players from the team. Oh, wait, no. Then why did they? Okay, hang on. So ING that faced off against Nope in the first round of the knockout phase. is supposedly our strongest Chinese team. Is that what you're saying? A loser team, their players can join teams in knockout. The rules. Oh, no, 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 no. Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of pointed it out. Yes, between the qualifiers and the knockout phase, there is a second confirmation for teams, so you can change your player lineup. I was just the thing was is that I thought you meant like mid knockout phase. So the Chinese champions, the strongest Chinese team we can be expecting is ING, which defeated Nope on the first day. Right. I don't mind the idea of players from the qualifying phase joining teams that made it into the knockout phase. That's fine. Um Again, players are not really players like competitive players are really a shortage, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of teams lost members throughout the CBL and got substitute of those who wanted to commit more. It will be more of a job the the bigger the prize gets, but again, you have to convince 20 people. You have to convince 20 people. Well, convince 15 people at the very least, because that's the largest map you'll see. You can have up to 20 people though. So if if we are assuming that ING is the strongest Chinese team and then CNC is the strongest team from Asia, man, that is going to be some high level at the very least. I'm expecting it should be high level, and if ING is the best that China Mainland's got for CNC, they might be the best shot at actually defeating CNC. Not that like I mean, I don't have any faith in any of the other teams from Asia beating CNC at this point. I've seen just enough of Asia to tell me that I don't think anyone's going to beat CNC. But China Mainland, you guys got my hopes up now. Uh Although I do have to say, in their match against NOP, like it was not a very good match. NOP just kind of fed them cavalry, and um, they really didn't stress ING out. So complete stomp, I would say. Yeah, it was just complete stomp on high long short as well. I'm remembering now. So did ING why I think this season is the closest to beating CNC. Why? Who did they face? And did I watch their matches? Man, that's gonna. I mean, like, I did miss 2 days of matches. I'm very sorry that. I mean, I didn't realize that I would miss another day. I thought I would just miss the Sunday, but I missed the Monday as well because I went for dinner. So this is the losers bracket. I'm pretty sure. TW is a little bit different. TW TW can be more about numbers than it is about how good your players are, but having good players does help. I mean, like, there have been times where I have seen, like, 15 members from CNC just hold off against, like, 30 odd players from a different team. And I mean, like, I remember a time when I was watching them defend a town with just the 15 of them, and they would sometimes rotate out because they needed to get new units, and they would be down to 10 people, but you still couldn't break through the wall. But I mean, like, the people who were attacking them were just super dumb as well. They were getting pigeonholed through the wall break and the main gate, so you can't really do anything about that. And defender's advantage on TW is kind of huge. to break through is much tougher than um to to attack is much harder than defending. Defender's advantage is like so massively tangible when it comes to TW because you can just throw respawns at them. Just because they have high levels doesn't mean they're like okay. So it high level, yeah, sure, it does have experience, but um, doesn't mean they're good players. CNC probably got the most experienced players, and a subset of them are best CBL players, but they could be experienced in different things. So I don't doubt that TW is kind of like a completely different horse, and you just really struggle with gauging how strong a house really is without just going, they have 100 people. If they have 40 people, they can attack a place and defend a place really, really well. You gotta have to have at least 35 people. I think 35 people is a good number to say this is a force to be reckoned with because when you get to that number, that means they can throw people at you to take a town or take a village. They won't run out of mustering. And was one of the biggest problems with TW is you run out of mustering sometimes. Awesome. Alrighty, enough about TW. We are on the first battle between SSR and AoE. We're about 7 minutes late, but nevertheless, looking at the units, we've got quite a few Silidars, a few Iron Reapers, surprisingly only 2 Shield Maidens coming out. I thought there would be way more Murmilones because it was their safe pick, but heavy shields still being picked. Quite interesting to say the least. Not very many pike units, which I am a bit concerned about for AoE, since pike units would be way stronger in this scenario, at least to Fortebraccio. Although Fortebraccio is probably not very effective in the long term against infantry, so I would definitely bring in some more halberdiers. But 5 shield maidens coming out from AoE to be expected. The funniest thing is they're going for synergy. And did you see that Husk Skull? That Husk Skull is going to be quite terrifying. Oh yes, definitely, Trav. CNC just needs to like. I don't even think they need 3 mustering. I think they just need the. I just think they need the three. I think they just need the 15 guys, and they could probably still kick our ass. Because individually, we're really RP is not that strong, so we would just get completely bodied by like one spear. Like we would struggle taking out one of their short swords 5-1, and they would have a spear take out 2 of our guys, 3 of our guys. Like it would be like 1-on-3, and he would kill all 3 of us, something like that. Linwu Fortress has begun. We have a mortar being set up by SSR, the attackers, and it does look like coming down from the wall, looking at the front gate here. You want to kind of match where they're coming from. You want to keep them out. But in my opinion, keeping them off the wall is probably the greatest advantage. This wall advantage is massive. You've only got around about 4 ways you can really come in, and everything else is kind of a risk. But nevertheless, lots of shield maidens out on the field means they're very fast and they're difficult to deal with one-on-one. There are some berserkers underneath with inside the tunnel. Hasn't climbed just yet. Probably going to look to cause some mayhem once the battle starts. The mortaring hasn't really gotten very much advantage so far. Interesting to see a Treb like that. I think that Treb is a massive miss. Definitely can tell. Big, big miss. No real engagement so far. Doesn't know he can't deal damage to the It's really sad. It's really funny because you could be a ranged hero and you can just shoot that. The fact that you can be a range hero and just shoot that wall at the beginning, it's fucking hilarious. Wow. The commitment up here on this section is going to be intense. The claymores go in, I think by mistake, probably over aggressiveness, but they kind of let them go because there's no way you can really, really change that. Push on two fronts, now three fronts. Berserkers there on the top of the stairs. We have a bunch coming from the main stairs and a bunch coming from a secondary wall. Coming in from behind, gonna hold? No, shield maidens and stalwarts gonna crunch onto the backside. Surprisingly, they did hold off the main force coming from the front gate. Now we're coming in for the supply point. Stronger is from the SSR. AoE is holding on with just nothing right now. There are no more units coming out from SSR. Actually, wait. There are literally Shield Maiden just standing there. What are you doing? Don't want to commit the Shield Maidens right now. Gets hit by Iron Reapers and a Shield Maiden mix. You either should have ran or you should have went in. I think it was kind of stupid just standing there as you just get completely bodied. Whew. Coming out on top, SSR actually wins that exchange. And I think they win pretty big here because, in terms of unit losses, I would expect AoE to have lost around about 10 or so units, and SSR probably only losing around about 5 or 7 units. But nevertheless. Yep. For the pick ban, yes, it was a double for it was double Linwu Fortress. So we'll get to see both teams going for Linwu Fortress. For the bans, it was Shenji Grenadiers, Siphonarios, Stalwarts, Daggerak Lancers, Cataphract Lancers, and Liao Rangers. So those are the units. It's kind of funny that I just kind of miss AoE feeding units into SSR. Once the wall is lost, I wouldn't really challenge them at all. For some reason, it does look like there was a banner guard. Um, I think trying to use the banner guard and the Myrmillones combo, but we didn't get to see it be pulled off here. So that's a little bit sad. We didn't get to see that. Um, AoE is probably just doing really stupid moves. I wouldn't say it's rigged at the current time. They're not really. They didn't really perform very well on the wall. They were definitely taking a fight very strangely. I think they're also having very terrible unit control right now. Maybe, I don't know. Is everything all right with Maeve? A retreat all the way back into their base. This is where I'm always quite concerned about letting go of this left-hand supply point, especially since, like, as the attackers move up, you can pick a fight here on the ground. The supply point in particular only have some surf units, so I would have definitely taken a fight there at the supply point. It could be a very easy win, especially if you only do it once. But here they kind of let it go for free. I'm not sure if they have a better advantage. Kind of stupid how one of them is going down now. If you're going to set up for the supply point, you should have set up from the very beginning. Halberdiers also moving across would not control my units in this fashion. Going to get intercepted very easily. Shield Maiden's going to come in. Catch the Halberdier Sergeants, in fact. Those are Sergeants, by the way. And the Sergeants are, again, just half decimated there. The Surf units also gets decimated. The control, I mean, coming down now, again, like, why? If you're going to This is a really stupid move. If you were going to take a fight here, why would you do it so late? Massive advantage coming out from SSR. SSR will take this handily, decimating the defenders right now, killing them one by one, not in position, and just completely outclassed in terms of position and momentum. Unable to stabilize, AoE just falls flat on its ass. Um, Maybe a small victory there on the bottom section where the medals were, but in 2 seconds, you got no units left. You got about 30 seconds before the enemy just walls right into there, and I'm pretty sure you just lost 10 units to basically nothing. For basically nothing. I don't even think the attackers lost very many units in that exchange. And right now, we can see that it is quite certain that massive advantage coming out from the attackers. SSR wins this handedly. Oh man, that's kind of depressing. AoE's really throwing the game really hard here. Yeah, a lot of questions. A lot of questions. If this is the kind of performance I can expect out of AoE, I mean, man, some of the other Asia teams played pretty badly, but at least they weren't stupid like that. Moving out of the defensive position super late, in fact. Not to mention, you're not catching the attackers off foot. You're not catching the attackers in a bad situation. You're literally counter-attacking the attackers when they're attacking you from the front. Like, if you ever want to slam two forces together, you're really gambling on which side is better. Because I'm for reals, like I think the basic setup from SSR was like not even that strong, and it just kind of blasted AoE setup into smithereens. But hey, man, if they got paid, man, where's my money? I have to sit here and watch this. In China mainland, no one knows their position. Asia had two different publishers: NetEase China server and Booming Asia server. Yeah, technically. I mean, the fact that I find it really funny because we actually still match with like the VG guys from time to time. Um, I think I think it happens less and less. I think it happens less and less nowadays. Haven't really seen. I see like one or two VG guys probably every 10 games. Man. So SSR, um, on the defense, I think they can be a little bit more aggressive, considering that AoE doesn't seem to have very strong setup potential. And I'm a be real with you, Chief. With all of these bans and things, I would I would just shield maiden zerg the damn bitches. Like literally, just shield maiden zerg them. If you're expecting Iron Reaper charge, bring some halberdiers. They will shred those Iron Reapers before they even hit the first line. I mean, like you could also bring Border Rushers, but like halberdiers are a bit faster and they're a bit more. They have a bit of a wider formation, so they're kind of resilient or kind of work much better against Iron Reapers than you would expect. So it's really funny because units that hits multiple units to dish out the damage are really ineffective against halberdiers in comparison to units that do lots of damage but only hit one unit. So shield maidens do better against halberdiers than they do against fortibraccios, but Iron Reapers can kill a fortibraccio unit much faster, well, when it's in a dense formation, than a halberdier formation. That's why you see a lot of fortibraccios using the F1 formation more, because it's just way more flexible and way more safe. You sacrifice a few units and you sacrifice some of your power, but you keep other things suppressed, like Iron Reapers, who bank on hitting multiple units at the same time. So there's also that. Wider formations are just very, very strong against, again, like multiplying against wider formations are just more effective when dealing with units that can hit multiple units at the same time. So Iron Reapers really get shafted when you're spread out. But when you're all concentrated all on one spot, Iron Reapers kind of win the Death Ball. If you ever go in a Death Ball against an Iron Reaper, you're probably going to lose. If you're going up against multiple Iron Reapers, that's a Death Ball that's unstoppable as well. I'm pretty sure he'll be chucked over to the other side. He's in his proper position now. Really? I'm not sure. I thought it was a 10v10. I don't think the player left. I don't think the player DC'd completely. I thought the player came back. Yeah, Trav, that is one of the worst things when considering the qualifying phase. You don't fight every single team in your group. The fact that you don't fight every single team in your group, and the fact that you can actually fight less matches and get more points is really bad. Like in some cases. So here we are for the second round of Linwu Fortress. Well, sorry. Here we are for the second round. This time we're seeing AoE attack Linwu Fortress. The heavy infantry lineup is staggering. We have so many shield maidens coming out from AoE. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shield maidens coming out from AoE. I did suspect that the 5 shield maidens were probably not enough, but this is kind of overkill. Uh, you reduce your flexibility by not having some specialist units, but this, woo wee, you're relying a lot on the shield maidens right now to really perform. And a really good counter pick is the Iron Reaper. There is 4 Iron Reapers and 2 Memelones. 3, no, 5. There are 4 Memelones with one banner guard. This banner guard reset charge is going to be massive. The assist, the power of the charge out of the Marilones, they only have like an 18-second charge when you go top line. And the fact that, like, Iron Reaper charge and Marilones charge are going to get reset by this banner guard, absolutely massive. I think the banner guards are going to be MVP even if you don't see it. Shield Maidens have probably got a counter pick for them. It's going to be a bit difficult. You're really going to have to rely on how you play. I would definitely do a split setup, have half Medaus, half Shield Maidens, and then switch for the second half. This way you keep it a little bit more weighted consistently, and definitely don't blow your load by having all of the same units. If you have all of the same units, it's very easy to counter with the ones you have, and especially since SSR went in with a charge-heavy setup. Shield Maidens do not like tanking charges, and in truth, they have a lot of models. You can sacrifice a couple Shield Maidens to slow down a charge, but I don't think anyone is selfless enough to sacrifice their Shield Maiden for that. But nevertheless, a little bit aggressive here coming out from SSR. I think I think if they wanted to cut them off, they should have cut them off at the gate. But right now, better off just surrounding them or at least keeping them at bay. We have a force here at the A point, which goes straight in with a Momiolona's charge, followed by an Iron Reaper charge, probably going to decimate that Madao into smithereens. Up onto the point now. We got Shield Maidens going to verse Shield Maidens. Momiolona's could decimate a Shield Maiden with a single charge. Both sides really... Oh no, Momiolona's goes in, probably decimating the Shield Maidens, but going to get killed by the Madaus just behind it. The charge is ineffective as Shield Maidens are fairly effective, barely effective by that charge right now. Splitting your forces was probably not a wise move right now. They're on the run from the A point and running into the supply point right now. Turn around and hold your position. This might be a really good hold for SSR. Continue the fight. Shield Maidens at the front could get another charge in. Don't see the Banner Guards resetting, but there is Iron Reaper charging straight in, squashing one of the Shield Maidens that did not run in time. The tidal wave coming out from SSR is running forward. I do think the exchanges were kind of weird, but I do believe that AoE is doing quite well, much better than last time. They did actually gain a good advantage. This could be really bad. Medal's at the front here could stack up a lot right now. But without anything else sustaining them, they are completely outnumbered. Really difficult to get units through. Oh, maybe the memory alone has just charged. Yeah, the memory alone has charged into those medals and just squashed them. This is the brutal thing about chargers. They, especially from the memory alone, is they, with their ability to block while charging, they really do not. They really do have nothing to fear when charging headlong into Medal. A Carnage might help, but it's just not as powerful. Carnage only does around about 1700 damage per hit 3 times, while Murmurlones will deal double that easily. A little bit of a scruffle here at the side gate. The attrition is going in the side of SSR now since the Shield Maidens have come in. Did look like it was an even exchange at the very end there, but AoE is losing heavily and definitely losing fast. I think with 2 units of tier 5 dead for the most parts, AoE has barely anything left to stand on and are clocking out one after the other. I think the losers bracket thing has never really been my thing. I don't like it. Personally, I don't like the losers bracket. The only reason I would ever have a losers bracket is to decide the ranking. But if I consider previous CBLs, the losers bracket normally fight off against the winners bracket, and I really hate that. I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. If you get sent down to the losers bracket, you maybe had a bad game, maybe you got kicked out of the thing, you're still gonna come second, basically. You come into the losers bracket, knock out everyone else, come second. But it's just not for me. I don't like the losers bracket. I never liked the losers bracket being the finals of the thing. I think their choice of unit was just really badly matched up against SSR. SSR really choosing some charge heavy units, which shield Raiders are again like not very good against. They can basically outmatch nearly every unit in terms of their versatility and flexibility, but when you have your entire army just be shield maidens, you have to start relegating shield maidens to roles which they are not as good at as other units. So you end up with a little bit of inefficiency because shield maidens are really shockingly good, like shockingly good. But if I want a unit to absorb damage, there's Imperial Spearguard will do wonders for absorbing damage. Even Stalwarts do wonders, but that's banned right now. You can throw your Shield Maidens in to stall for damage. I mean, stall and then swap for damage, but I don't think anyone actually really understands how powerful Shield Maidens are in order to pull that off. So, congratulations. Yes, that is 2-0 for Surfs. Surfs winning twice, AoE losing twice. Um, Short matches, I would have to say. I think the rest of AoE leaving kind of ending it very fast, so there's that. I might sound too harsh, but AoE is not supposed to be in this knockout stage. Many and man, at this point, that's not harsh because they're shit, man. Z1, I've seen better teams from Asia at this point, and I mean, like, I had high hopes for China mainland because considering that I only actually watched their top two kick our top two back in, I think, Snowstorm or something, way back when. I think maybe in Snowstorm or it was Dynasty, and I thought China mainland had better competition, but apparently not. Hey, it's not that BOD's hero killing was top notch. It was just okay. So I have to agree that the ping disadvantage really showed that BOD was was abusing it too much. BOD failed in terms of units. They would. This is the kicker. Like in unit matchup, in like plays, the um SSR did so well against BOD that BOD relied on killing the heroes in order to keep SSR suppressed. And if they didn't, if SSR had the time to reestablish themselves, because you have to remember that like there's lots of mistakes happening with movements from the teams, and when the going gets tough, the hero is the most vulnerable part of every match. You kill the hero, not only is the hero dead, the unit's basically dead in the water. There's not very many units that are really strong just by themselves. I mean, like Paladin's okay. Everything else, I would say, it needs an ability. You can leave a lot of units in formation, but when you're running bad ping, you end up having getting CC'd and then getting CC'd again, looking like it's a chain, but it's not a real chain because your CC lasts slightly longer sometimes. I mean, like this is just my experience. I play on like 280, maybe 300 ping, and it is awful. It is god awful. I mean, I'm in Australia as well, and it's just like I'm not very far from like I'm not very far from where thing is located, and apparently my ping's just horrendous. The ping is not so bad, people said. Okay, when you're comparing the ping of basically 80 milliseconds to like 200 or 250 milliseconds, and there is no practical difference between them. Okay, supposedly no practical difference between them because of the servers. I mean, I'm gonna have to believe. Like, ask Mask himself. He plays on the my.com version. Is higher ping like do you get less lag on Frontier even though you have higher ping? Or is it comparable or not even comparable? It's true. I mean, Ruffles, I agree with you in that. I think looking back on it, moving away from the base point was really stupid. And I think you had absolute unit advantage, and that was the thing. It was just like absolute unit advantage. You had so much tier 3 left, tier 4 and tier 3 left, that it was just like, there's no way BOD takes this. And they take it. And I'm just like, they're just killing heroes. And they're not even winning on the units. The units are wasted because they have to get through just an entire formation of units. And it's just, ugh. I think ping is issue with only on heroes, but if unit control is very, very good, I think no issue. And I agree with BOD was strong on hero kill. They perma you guys so quickly to kill the unit advantage of it. Yep. BOD relied on killing the heroes. Um, relied on killing the heroes against SSR, and I would have to put it just simply from the fact that if SSR could defend themselves even in a scenario where they're at an inherent disadvantage of ping, BOD, like, BOD is not the best team around. I wouldn't put them in my top four. Definitely wouldn't put them in my top. Definitely wouldn't put them in my top four. But in terms of performance, SSR is stronger. Like, not massively stronger. I think I am missing a lot when it comes to pressure from the heroes, since ping can really affect that a lot. And yeah, unit setup is way more powerful than ever before because let's be real, the unit power creep has gone insane. Units are so powerful, and especially units being controlled by a hero is so powerful that I don't think heroes by themselves anymore can really dominate like they kind of used to. I mean, there was this one time where there was a couple of tier threes around, and the other team had basically nothing but serfs. The 15 heroes just goon squatted everything. Like the defending team just couldn't stop them because they were just jumping on every hero real so fast that they would kill that hero and mess up any of the tier 3 units that were still around. And I mean, like the unit advantage didn't even look like it exists because the heroes suppressed it so much. But the halberdiers, the tier 3 halberdiers, surprisingly, their formation is so strong. I mean, let's be real here. The phalanx formation is the strongest brace formation in the game, and they buffed it to be even stronger. So BOD versus SSR reminds me of ECL versus Kebabs, where Kebabs was struggle to stop the amount of hero kills. Oh, yeah, no, I remember that. I did think I did think that Kebabs kind of fucked one or the other really screwed up. I'm pretty sure it was one of the EU teams screwed up their defense and they just got surrounded. Like half their team was surrounded and then half their team decided to try to help. And it's just like one side got destroyed. They all turned around and destroyed the other side. And I mean, that was plebs back. Yeah, that was the pleb battle. I'm not sure who was facing off against kebabs, but um that 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 setup there, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like, I was just like, what are you guys actually doing? Because not only did you get surrounded, one side of your team just gets destroyed, and you send the other side of your team to also get destroyed. Coordination is very powerful. I think team play will become stronger and stronger and stronger as the units become more powerful. It's Um, it's just a thing where heroes need to have some impact. Units still need to be very strong. So we're kind of in that little bit of balance where units are getting too strong that heroes are now becoming less important. And so I'm pretty sure if SSR could defend themselves against the heroes, they would win. They would have won against BOD, kind of like hands down. If it comes down to a unit versus unit battle, if it comes down to a field battle, again, I said it there, and I'm pretty sure I said it there. Um, SSR would just be at a disadvantage just from the fact it's a field battle, it's an open space, and BOD is just going to pick off their heroes if they spread out too much. SSR needed to win direct fights. Um, if they lost at all in a direct fight, they were going to lose, and it kind of happened like that. But I also think SSR was you needed to move your cavalry more. Like you guys coming in from one direction was kind of like the stupidest thing to me. But both work perfectly. You can do either both styles. More important is less mistakes. Ah, yeah. You can't wait for enemy units to just get fed to you as the hero is looking to snipe you. You have to use your units to put pressure on the enemy units and the enemy hero because like it's all a mind game. If you're by yourself and the enemy's by themselves, it's a 1v1. So you have to be very confident in the 1v1. But if you're around your unit, use your unit to suppress either the other guy's unit or keep yourself safe. And it's a whole bag of combination stuff. Unfortunately, no. I will go for a 5 minute breaks in about a minute, but I'll answer this. So, Verb, the the current seasons of Scorpio. So we have the Chain Dart and Scimitar, the Jangjus, Camel Lancers, and the recently released Hashashins are not going to be in the CBL. And this is important because that is if the CBL starts in a new season or before a new season starts, you will not see those units in that CBL. They do some kind of balance restricting. The only thing that I don't like is that sometimes not sometimes the only thing I don't like is that version fixing is not really that how to say strict. They do allow balance changes to come in. The Mermiolones change came in, and that kind of changed a lot of the landscape halfway through the qualifier phase. And it's just one of the things that just happened. But nevertheless, I will be back in 3. So see you guys then. Okay, so I figured out what's wrong. If I'm capturing the window as this thing before this thing starts, application will fail, and that's the most surprising thing. So we have just begun the pick ban phase for our next battle. It's going to be HS versus YS, and Linwu Fortress gets banned out with Kurik Castle getting banned out. Now we're getting a pick from YS being Hailong Fjord. They're going to be attacking Hailong Fjord with HS attacking Harbor City. Yeah, CBL's a real commitment. Don't wouldn't call it definitely wouldn't say it's easy to commit the amount of time for CBL. Considering that the top prize pool is only 10K, you gotta get about 500 bucks if you have a team from 20. Considering that you're sharing, of course. 500 bucks is not a lot. Commit considering the amount of time put in. If it was like a 1 day tournament thing, against like 8 teams. Yeah, you get to play. You get to play multiple times. If I mean, you get to play at least 3 times in a team of 8, up to 3 times. I mean, all right. Sorry, I'm kind of like skipping, just talking about nonsense as we're just skipping over the bans here. We got the scenario is the Fort Brascio Pikeman gets banned out, Metallators and the Zycalian Militia. Now we're back on to HS. Gonna go their safe pick. What is your safe pick, my dudes? A lot of games have a lot of potential to be esports. It depends whether or not it's just fun watching. Sometimes CB is not exactly that fun watching. I really think that game improvement really needs to come in. So Madao Battalion gets banned out. Oh, this is strange. Oh, did YS not have a safe pick? YS didn't do a safe pick. So HS also safe picks Murmury Lunas and bans out Madao Battalion. A double pikeman ban out. That means only leaving halberdiers available for anti-cavalry. Dedicated anti-cavalry. That's really strong to have something like Asars and Liao Rangers. YS bans out Wing Asars. Good job. Good job. Probably expecting that Winged Asar setup. You're really gonna have to rely on your halberdiers to kind of deal with the um, Liao Rangers. So this is going to be interesting to see how, in the end, they really deal with the cavalry mess that we should be expecting coming out from HS. I don't doubt that HS is going to bring a lot of cavalry, banning out 2 polearm units, which are exclusively really good against cavalry. And the smart move here was YS, really smart move, takes out the Wing to Tsar option. It's probably the best one to ban because if you're only down to halberdiers and loyal guards, do mind you that even though that these guys in formation are good against cavalry, a perfect wing chart. So if you got a very tight or a good formation of winged hussars, doesn't leave any unit standing, is could crush an entire formation of loyal guards and halberdiers. So that is wonderful, very wonderful. All right, time to look at some of the Telegary. It's too big for player. What? The problem is the teams are a bit too big, I think. If they reduce the team size to 8v8, it could be more fast-paced and way more interesting to watch. Yeah, CB is only fun to watch when you understand the game very well. I don't think so. 15v15 is good. Yeah, totally agree. It's too big for players. It is a real warfare game. I mean, how hard can it be to get more players? 15v15, who the fuck going to sponsor the amount of players in the team? Do mind, 8 teams. There are 8 teams. There are 15 in each of the teams. That's 120 people. Or am I doing math wrong? I hope I'm not doing math wrong, but that's 120 people already signed up. Just 8 teams. There are actually 16 teams in total. 8 teams for the second stage of knockout, both sides from the loser and the winners bracket. So, um, it like there is a lot of players when your team size is this big. The team sizes are huge. Plus only 5 teams participating. So 8v8 is too small as well. Take out a lot from the game. Just pay some big money to big streamers so they add the game. Plus 5 teams, yeah, they will lose a lot of money. Do what every other game does if it's not going well. No one interested to sponsor them. Make it beginner friendly by making them unlock units ASAP. I mean easier, and that's it. This game is new concept, so it will take a lot of marketing to break this kind of concept. To The concept itself is niche. It's an RT. It's an RTS style. It's an RTS style thing. You can't. Every strategy game in existence is never wide reaching. It's a niche portion. We are less than 1% of the gaming market. Like, strategy games are tiny, like tiny market value. But I'm looking through chat and you guys are talking really fast. Sorry, game goes faster if it gets to there. You can have fun doing it with 15v15. Even though of course they won't be as good as people raised a long time. Have a decent unit. Same goes for doctrines. Yeah, agree. It's possible. If people like the game, they will grind to become good. Only you have to make the grind. You have to make the grind feel like you have a purpose. Most of the time, people get burnt out because they feel like the grind is not worth the time and effort to get to where you want. So there has to be an end to the grind eventually, or you reach your goal, and then they just introduce more grind to get to a new thing. That's why each of the new units is a type of grind, which is very easy to complete every season, keeping the current players happy because they get to progress to the next set of units, but it also makes it difficult for newer players to come in because there's so much to grind for. So definitely have to agree that they're going to have to fix some kind of discrepancy between old players and new players, and showering the new players with new stuff is not a good idea. They need to simplify a lot of units. They're making each unit too unique. I would definitely make a lot of the older units more similar and have more distinct differences where they don't overlap too much. There's a little bit too much overlapping and not enough distinction, not enough similarity either. So it's very complicated if I say it like that, but you'll understand it if I kind of explain how how you need to reduce the amount of effort to get to the same level for newer players. But you need to remember how many teams for each 4 players of 100 total players in PG, meaning they gain more sponsors and very more challenging because the number of the teams. Honestly, 10k is insane, no? 10k for a small game? I think the prize doesn't really matter too much. It only determines the amount of how much like the prize pool for considering how big CB is, 10k is actually a lot. We only have that like to the number of players we actually have. That's around about 5,000. I would say around about 5,000, 6,000 for the Asia division, probably similar number for the China mainland one, and then probably half that much coming out from the my.com. So in total, around about 20,000 players in total. A prize pool of 20,000, it's like $1 per player. Considering like other big games, they would have less than the number of players they have. So their prize pool would be something like, I don't know, 2 million, but they have like 10 million players. So it's a big difference. It's a big difference. Or maybe like in contrast to the dollar to the player. So I don't know. I don't know how big the market's going to be. 10K seems like a good fish hook. It's not small. It's not exactly small, but it's big enough to entice some people, especially for at least a day. Yeah, I agree. Shield maidens are OP as fuck. I want a lot of thing. I want a lot of things just to be shafted into the non-existence. Shield maidens is one of them. I don't like shield maidens right now. I mean, like I don't like anything that's meta, and I find a reason to hate it, and that's just because I just hate how I can't just use anything and it just be okay to use. I actually have to work my bloody ass off to um yeah, man, I hate Falcos as well. I mean I hate all ranged units because of how fast they fire. They fire way too fast. Like way too fast. Fal- Falconettis as well. They shoot so fast. They're they're like a small cannon. They hit harder than a green cauldron, and probably not as hard as a green cauldron, but man, again, the cost of per player is massive because of the size of the team is just too big. Yeah, but like Obi-Wan Kenobi, imagine that, but you scale it to a team of 15. If we take for an example, like if we just triple that number, just because of the number of players. That's 60 people. If it, I mean, like again, it doesn't work out like that. One manager can manage 15 people. I totally understand that. You don't really need sub managers. You can cut down the admin to like one person. You're still playing with at least 20. You're still playing it with at least 15 people. Five subs. You need one manager, one admin, and again, you have PR and marketing team, which are completely separate. Hmm. The horse flag, it's a little bit of vanity. I think the fact that it's temporary, I think, is probably the only downside of ranking every season. I need to get my rank up. I want to get the ranked attire for the Shield Maidens, mainly because it's a special ranked attire. I mean, like you always want to get that special ranked attire. If you don't, then it's just weird. Wowee! All right, I expected a little bit more cavalry, but yes, I did suspect something like this would happen. The number of cavalry picks is actually super low from either side, but still a little bit higher from the HS. Um, the Liao Ranger pick was, again, expected. The two Chevaliers, interesting. What's also interesting is the low pick for Shield Maidens, but also the low pick for Stalwarts. I suspected more Stalwart picks coming out from either side. The Dagorak Lancers and the Cataphract picks on YS is very surprising. Um, even okay, so this is kind of like a reversal. For some reason, there are more Lance Cavalry coming out from YS than there is from HS. Going out with the Liao Rangers gives you a little bit more efficiency when dealing with the Halberdiers, so God, this is going to be an interesting attack for HS. Once they get inside the city, I think we're going to see some we're going to see some cavalry shenanigan, and depending on who catches the phases correctly, um, will really determine who's going to win in the long run. Cavalry is very powerful. I think HS might be a little bit on the worse side because Liao Rangers really need to hammer in home their AoE, so they need to get into dense piles, while Dagger Lancers just charge on through. Cataphract's the same. I don't understand the Cataphract pick because Dagger Lancers have a better performance average compared to their costs, so it's kind of weird that the Cataphracts would be picked. A Jewel Blade is inside. We have two guys down there probably building ballistas like before. So they went through the spawn gate, built ballistas, and shooting the units that are sitting on the stairs there. Really good move to kind of just like pressure the enemy and get a couple of really easy kills. The muskets need to do a better job at taking out those. Yep, does take out those ballistas. Not before they took out a couple of kills, I guess. One of the tougher things I would always gauge about how attacking a harbor city is first how they do the suppression. The defenders suppress the siege towers. How well does the attackers suppress the suppression? So, how many mortars are we putting down? We put down 2 mortars very close to the wall here. Are you aiming for on top of the wall, or are you aiming for the stairs? There's been cases where teams completely forego trying to suppress the wall and actually aim mortars at the stairs in order to damage the units there, and then pressure a fight at the front gate. And that's a strategy that's very rarely employed. I only actually think I saw it once, but the Jewel Blade's not on the wall. He's actually down below. One of the biggest thing about CB is it doesn't have enough players. I have to agree with Mask on this one. The popularity of CB is just not high enough. People don't enjoy this as much as they should. I mean, I lose my enjoyment of playing CB all the time because of how they do balancing, and the ridiculousness of some units get to me very fast or very slowly. Design wise, there are a lot of units that I super hate. I don't know what they did to Outriders to make them worse, but I'm happy that they are weaker now. But I think it mostly has to do with the fact they reduced the melee attack from 3 to 1. Not really confirmed, but I think it's something like that. Obi-Wan Kenobi is putting down that big dollar sign bag, and he's just like, I want in. Retiaris actually are decent, but the problem is that oh, this is really funny. So you know how Retiari are designed? They're actually better at doing what assassins do than assassins. So it's just funny. Right now we have a rush towards the supply point, getting surf units killed. Again, that was to be expected. Um, Daggerak Lancers coming through or getting cut to pieces. I think they're getting cut to pieces. The I kind of expected this a little bit, but a little. This is ending up in failure. What's also surprising is the Silidars are doing super well out on the ground. I thought something would die already. One Halberdier unit, though. So HS really, really throws away quite a bit. Retreating now, getting onto the top of the wall, so sufficient pressure. A little bit of a sacrifice, sufficient pressure, so kind of changing it to a ground battle. YS is probably much higher now. I think the advantage to YS is going to be so much bigger. Oh, sorry, Renwood. I'm pretty sure it's only for booming tech side. I'm sorry. It does says Poros on it, so I'm going to have to guess it's only for the booming tech side. So if you're only here for the drops, I apologize that it won't apply to you. But I will say that if you like watching CBL or competitive CB, please come join me for my commentary. Otherwise, it's a bunch of people commentary um, watching it as well. Surprisingly, they did not get the A point, so I don't even know how YS managed to push. I don't understand that big explosion. Is that big explosion caused by the siege tower? Like, that's the second time that's happened. Like a ginormous explosion, but like no projectile. Just grab the A point. What are you doing? I'm gonna have to be real with you. I don't believe HS is in any kind of advantage right now, considering that they kind of lost their major engagement here. What they did lose, though, however, was nothing of importance. I think they only lost a Daggerack Lance and a couple of Serfs. Maybe they killed way more units than I thought they did, but well, first of all, in order to publish in mainland China, you cannot self-publish. It has to be done by a local company. So, first of all, yeah, that's impossible to. You always have to do a publisher inside mainland China, so that was obvious. But again, multiple publishers is always just really stupid when like you try to enter the global market, since the global market is more intertwined, but local publishers have an advantage because they're already set up. So, new company, you don't want to self-publish, mainly because you don't want to deal with a whole lot of legal shenanigans, not to mention through a lot of legal processes. So if you let a game or another publisher publish a game, they will do all the legal steps within the local regions to get the game published, at least legally. There are a couple of cases where games are available are technically only published in one region, but you have plenty of people play from other regions. Australia, for instance, doesn't actually have an official server, but we normally just latch on to servers released in other things. So technically, they don't have to receive a rating inside Australia if they don't publish it here. Technically. All right. HS moving down towards the supply point right now. We have a lot of information being displayed to us. We have two claymores coming out from HS. Let's see. And two Myrmidons. Right now, shields against shields. We do have a nice bagpipers. Ooh. An instant stop on that monastic knight. Shields also blocking an Imperial pike charge. March, sorry. Chevaliers comes in from the front, probably getting shot to pieces by those crossbows. But in the end, a nice charge in the back. Rear charges need to flip around, but nonetheless, YS takes a big loss here. I think the stalwarts made a huge headway from the front there. The only problem right now is HS needs to stabilize. They could actually end up losing out if the YS puts more pressure on this supply point. Does look like the Halberdiers are sitting in the back, not being pushed up. Mostly just the Monastic Knights using their raw tankiness to survive against Claymores and Imperial Spearguard. That Halberdier could change everything. Move your ass! Surprisingly, actually, I mean, Monastic Knight cleans up. Wow. I actually didn't expect that. I think YS setup was bad, but that rear attack was way more effective than I expected. The Monastic Knights, especially, I was wrong. Those weren't cataphracts. Those were Monastic Knights. So one Monastic Knights went straight in, died, front on charge. A second Monastic Knights comes in from the rear, actually doing massive work, and just kind of squashes everything else. The surprising thing is that the heroes coming out from HS could not stabilize. They were super superior, but once those Monastic Knights come rolling around, oh boy, those heroes started dropping real fast, real fast. A Monastic Knights back in the day used to do more damage with their basic attack. They used to be called you used to not actually charge with Monastic Knights. You used to just X them around, and they would just clean sweep anything. And it's really funny because I remember back in the day where I first saw a Monastic Knight, and I saw a short sword running away from them. He was iron sighted, by the way, and as they rolled through the short sword, he died like super fast. He was full health, and he died. Like I think only like 8 of them hit him, and he's just dead. I can barely see the battle from this distance, but it does look like the battle is in favor of YS right now. As oh no, I take that back. It's kind of like a stalemate right now from either side. Massive formation of how it is, but HS might make a headway. Rear charge by Liao Rangers, decimating the Halberdier formation. The other side might look to push in, so they win the brace war. The only problem here is that can they carry on through? They did lose the Liao Rangers in the end, but switching over to the other side is a good idea. Don't want to press the attack. Oh my goodness. Daggerrack Lancer is going to miss a big opportunity for a lot of units. Rear guard holds the enemy at bay though. HS is still down on units. I would say this is going to be a tight fight for HS. YS could easily clean them up with the remaining units they have, but the only problem is that who has dominance on the base point right now? It is definitely HS right now with the Chevalier unit cleaned up that Daggerrack Lance, and we have the green crossbows, so the Mez crossbowmen firing. They do not stop cavalry, so this is really important. The crossbow bolts coming out from the Mez crossbowmen do not stop cavalry chargers, so one of the weaknesses, I think the raw damage output is actually higher on the Demez crossbowmen, but against higher armored units, it becomes muted. So, instantly getting the Chevaliers crushed right now. Surprising that the Daggerrack Lance Charge was kind of the thing that changed everything. And finally, the mass of infantry cleared up everything else. Well, actually, no. So, making headway with the Daggerrack Lancers, the Halberdiers actually cleared up the rest of the Chevaliers. This is going to be an easy put. This is going to be an easy hold from YS. There's basically nothing left coming out from HS. I don't think HS has very many good units left, and even if they have units left, it's going to be Surf. Definitely Surf. I thought I thought that the second battle there at the bottom of the left-hand side was more even than I thought. I thought HS may have actually gotten an advantage, but apparently not. Kind of the runaway section of it turned out to be less of a advantage. So, anyhow, why blue expos on Chevalier is so good against versus cavalry? Did you mean why or did you mean yes? Because yeah, Demez Arbalest, the blue crossbowman, um, way better against cavalry for two reasons. They stop cavalry charges, so any cavalry that is charging will get stopped. Second, they have higher armor penetration. When you get into tier, I mean, even the difference between the tier 3 and the tier 1, you're hitting for about 1400 damage with 1000 pen. Most of the things in tier 3, 4 or 300 armor. That's gonna cut your damage by like 40% at least. You get to tier 5, shit starts having 6, 7, maybe 800. I mean, loyal guards alone have 900 base armor in piercing. Your damage right now on those green expos, on those green crossbows, are 10%. You're going to do 140 damage. That's minimum damage right there. Tibet's Obelisk, they have around about 16, 1700 pen. You're still going to do around about 60% of your damage against tier 4, tier 5. Tier 5 doesn't really reach ridiculous amounts of armor, but like Iron Reapers who do at the like 1100 mark, again, like an outlier. More damage, even though in retrospect, raw damage wise, the green crossbows actually outperform the blue one because they're shooting twice as fast. They're shooting 1400 damage bolts. The blue ones shooting 1500 damage bolts, shooting half the speed. Theoretically, the raw damage out of the green ones crazy. They will wipe surfs so fast that you can't even blink. But the blue ones, they will actually hurt against anything that has even a lick of armor. Oh, the ammo on the green ones, watch that disappear. Because you have to remember that the ammo consumption is increased when they use the special abilities. Again, I hate the fact that this happens, but not that the fact that they have ammo consumption, but when Chevaliers use their assault charge, the retinue shoots 2 bolts at twice the speed. Okay, not twice the speed, but they shoot 2 bolts at increased attack rate. You know what that is? That's like a 300. That's at least a 200%. That's at least 100% damage increase because it adds 1 bolt, and then it doubles the attack speed, so that multiplies your damage. So you get like a 300% damage attack increase from using assault. Your retinue is doing 300% more damage in that 8 seconds it's charging. Crazy. Ugh. This is the funny thing. Double shot, um, double shot, yes, it increases the ammo consumption as well, but it also adds an additional shot. So, is it worth it? Yes. You get to shoot 2 additional shots, so you increase it by 300. So you increase the damage by at least 200%, and then whatever the attack speed increase is, at the attack speed increase to me right now is like 50%. So you're dealing 450% more damage than you would do normally. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, like, doctrines are not included in the CBL, so yeah, that's whatever. But HS really needs to step up their game. I do think YS is beatable by HS, but HS really, 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 really needs to look for a win that they can do convincingly, because every time they take a fight right now, they don't win convincingly. Like, for some reason, the end section keeps they keep falling on the end section. Like, they're losing units as they retreat or as they're moving, or the fight goes on too long and they can't reestablish themselves, and it's just like, what are you doing? HS just needs a convincing victory because they're quite even teams. YS and HS both very close in terms of performance from either side. YS is just a little bit more stable in keeping it together, and both sides lost a lot of units. But by the end of that, it was just HS just piecemealing a couple of guys at a time. Oh man, Obi, I've never actually seen that happen before. You walk into a monastic's ass, and it's just like dead. Nah, I never liked walking up behind a Keshik that's turning around, and it's just like doing this little jig as it's turning very slowly, and all of a sudden I'm dead. Okay, Rattan Rangers, Rattan Rangers in the heyday was crazy to deal with. Like, it's so ridiculous to deal with Rattan Rangers and how their inherent design could make them easily go out of control. You can't give them too much range damage. You can't make them too tanky, um and you cannot give them more damage. Like, there's ways to make them balance, but it's just like there are two things that you have to keep in mind. You have to balance the range damage, the speed, and the tankiness. You balance those three. If the range damage is too high, you can't have them be fast and tanky. If the range damage is low, you can have them fast and tanky, but the melee damage, um, the melee damage, well, you never really use the melee, so it doesn't even matter. But that's the thing, like, it's a ranged cavalry unit, and surprisingly, the Fire Lancers are actually better at ranged cavalry than Rattan Rangers right now, so it's really hilarious. Hey man, if you could put mounted archery doctrines on them, that'd be absolutely insane. Have you seen some of those things? Also, I hope you guys saw the units there. I wasn't even looking at the units. I mean, the slow. Okay, so like they have a poison that actually slows and theoretically reduces damage. So, um, no, Ironcap bow riders could never kill a Rattan ranger. Okay, if it had the that arrow, like the fire arrow doctrine, maybe. But no, like, you're dreaming if Rattan Ranger's getting killed by Ironcat bow riders, or you're just a really shit Rattan Ranger user. Oh well, whatever Rattan Ranger you were facing, mind kill. Did you have the fire arrow doctrine or did you not? If you had the fire arrow doctrine, yeah, probably. Hi, Christopher. Yeah, if you had the fire arrow one, yeah, it could be very terrifying. Getting hit by one fire arrow for a Rattan Ranger is just like a death sentence. That, the fire damage is increased by like 5 times. So that 150 fire damage goes to like 750 a second, and that burns like 5 times. Like, the burn damage lasts for a long time, and it's just, man, it hurts. You can't craft wall rockets. You can Oh wait, no. Optimal siege ballistas? No, you can create optimal ballistas, but you need to find a town that actually crafts those. I don't think that you can create legendaries anywhere, so good luck with that. You normally just have the basic. What are you? Oh, these guys are just flipping around. That's what's happening. No, 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 no. War rockets cannot be created. Siege ballistas are like the thing that every single team kind of puts at any of the fronts, and they just aim the heroes, and it just skewers because it just skewers right through the units. I mean, I just use an optimal culverin. It does the exact same thing. Making an optimal culverin also takes it's very difficult to create as well. Trying to go through the wall break, gets stopped by stalwarts, goes through the front gate. Will they take the wall or will they take the fight on the ground? I would take the fight on the ground because there's less people right there. Good formation of stalwarts and halberdiers probably going to stop. But the thing here is that the Myrmillones will probably still take that. They locked up a couple of the units. That's really good. This is really good. They hard locked three of the units up there on the wall. They just need to take the fight on the ground right now. Can they? I don't think they can. Nope, maybe they can. Take that back. Good setup coming out from YS, keeping the flanks really secured. I think HS took the hard route and just. Whoop, they actually made it through. Holy cow. Formation of stalwarts and halberdiers were broken by stalwarts and a myrmillones. Shows you how powerful shield units are. Claymores right now holding that A point. I think HS is doing a smart move by concentrating on winning here and now. This would be the only time I would say that they could probably win. But the Shenji Grenadiers surprisingly are making bank as they shoot right into some Liao Rangers with obviously cover fire from the Halberdiers. The Halberdiers will probably be very badly damaged. They haven't reformed yet, but they pulled the charge and just gets completely they get lost at almost an entire monastic knight just now. Shield Maiden's at the front right now. Got to get charged by monastic knights, hammered in, flattened into the ground right there. You could switch to spear mode to save them, but that's a little trick that's really hard to pull off. A optimal culverin hits an optimal culverin hits 5, by the way. It pierces up to 5. A regular culverin pierces 2. Or maybe a blue one pierces 3. I can't remember. Lots of grape shots coming out from the attackers right now, and you're bleeding units like crazy, HS. The halberdiers are main staying power is working wonders. No, don't let them. Jesus. The Varangian guards, as much as I love them, walking straight into a polar brace formation, you're asking to die. Not brace at all. The monastic knights just roll right over the halberdiers and push on through across the bridge. We also have a contingent of Daggerack Lancers moving towards the B point. HS doesn't have very much to stabilize themselves. 2 minutes for the A point, 2 minutes for the B point, 1 minute for the harbor point. This is going to be a long hold for the C point. You have a lot of cavalry, but do you have infantry to match? Oh, no, like, Culver. Okay, so artilleries are a little bit special. You know, you could kill, with an optimal culverin, I once killed an entire Pavis unit with one shot, or at least like 20 of them. I think. I think I only left a few of them alive. The thing here is that culverins have explosion damage. So not only do they have a direct hit, but when the ball explodes, or well, yeah, explodes, quote unquote, they will do a set amount of damage. It's not really specified how much it is, but it's roughly around about half as much as direct hit. So an optimal culverin, man, that thing does like 1100 damage on a direct hit, and on when it explodes, if you're shooting into a very dense pile of stuff, I mean, if you shoot into, let's say, a guardian formation, you're gonna punch a hole straight through because you'll probably hit 5. But if you hit 6, everyone around them, you're gonna damage like 9. You're gonna damage like 10 units. Really good, really really good. But yeah, culverins are a little bit special. Again, I like using optimal culverins, especially when shooting into very, very dense piles. But at the same time, the lower ones are actually really good as well because you can get a really good value out of those. But that's for like damage over time. I just use ballistas just to guarantee kills if it's kind of like a skirmishing thing. But if you set, I mean, one time I just decided to set up like 3 culverins, and it's really funny how fast you can kind of like wreck an entire team because not only does a direct hit from a culverin causes a knockdown, the damage spread on really dense piles is really painful. Yeah, monastics are super tanky. I do not doubt that the tankiness of monastics is really advantageous to charge first, but in any scenario where there's fortibratios, the fortibratios would basically kill the monastic. Would basically kill the monastics if they're charging. So if you ever want a cavalry to charge first, always send in a winged hussar because everything else will just do the exact same. But winged hussar is the best. Like no matter what happens, no matter what kind of happens in the future or what's happening right now, um, it's very surprising that we actually had men at arms leading the charge just now. Kind of overwhelming the defenders here. I was a little bit skeptical about sending the cavalry so soon after the men at arms just kind of finished off that first front. I think you lost the rest of your monastics there, or actually, there's like 5 of them left. So this is kind of like a wash for HS. I don't think they'll be able to stay. Yeah, purple culverins hit 5. It pierces up to 5. That's what I remember. I could be wrong about that. Again, you could easily just check this in-game, look at a purple culverin, you type it in on the market. Oh, it pierces 7. Doesn't really matter. It's really good. Culverins are a good substitute for siege ballistas because the piercing effect is what you want. Because you want to shoot through the thing. Hey man, at this point, I'm just happy that like a variety of units are used. At this point, I mean like I wouldn't be surprised if in the higher brackets all I get to see is like shield maidens, loyal rangers, winged hussars, those kind of shit. Um, it is a bit concerning that some of the picks are not working out as well as the teams are using. Okay, so like obviously if you pick something, I want to be able to think that you got a plan. Banner guards, really cool because it synergizes really well with both Iron Reapers and Myrmillones. They're mainly charge focused units. Very, very strong. Very, very powerful and should not be underestimated. So a reset comes in huge. But again, it's just apparent that units are not used in conjunction with each other to get more performance. They're kind of used as just trying to get value out of each other. So monastic charge is banking on the fact that they do get stopped. But even if they do get stopped, they are tankier than any other cavalry. And they're like almost twice, maybe three times tankier than any cavalry. And because you don't have the doctrines, it's very apparent to see that the tankiness of the monastic knights allows them to stay in contact with a brace unit, and that contact means that they're not damaging anything else. They're damaging the monastic knights. So you could have follow-up charges. You could have other things. But if you're going to go up against polearm units, I'd send in infantry first, followed by cavalry. And so yeah. Oh yeah. The workshop cost can actually be increased by the controlling house depending on where you're from or where you go. No, 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 no. There's a flat cost. There's a flat cost, and then there's a tax. So I think the original cost is like 20, and then you can get taxed on top of that by I think so. I think 20 is where when the tax is zero. I think. Not entirely sure. You can click on the settlement and see the tax rate. Um, Most of the time, every single village can create higher tier resources. So, I mean, higher tier mats anyway. So, normally just go to one of the free towns. They have zero tax rate, and but you need to eventually just go. You need to eventually go to a town that makes, or that's level 7 and makes the siege weapon that you want. It can be very costly. Like I remember that they set the workshop cost to like 500%, and it costs 7,000. It costs 7,500 silver per optimal Hwacha. Or actually, it might have been much higher than that, but like it was very expensive. So, with that being said, we're all done with the. I mean, no, even if you're ruling house, your ruling house could set the taxes up. Remember, like it doesn't matter who owns the place. It depends how much the tax is. If the tax is zero, that's the cheapest you're going to get. If the tax is 10, it's going to be more expensive. And obviously, if it gets higher and higher and higher, it's more expensive. But let's close up this bad boy. I'm going to see if I can also get what the CBL. So, Chrome. Alrighty. So, tonight, we got to watch AoE versus SSR. SSR winning handedly. I think, again, I do agree. AoE kind of really messing up on fairly like basic setup, and again, I think not really formulating a really good strategy with the units they had. They were just kind of banking on the strength of the units to kind of carry the day. SSR had a little bit better setup, had definitely a strategy in mind. Not to say that I got to see it be really stressed or kind of see the synergy happen. I really wanted to see the charge action where they charge in, reset the charge, and charge again kind of deal. But not that I actually got to see that. Then we following that we saw HS versus YS. Again, similar scenario. I think HS could have pushed YS a little bit more if they concentrated on winning a fight, but from the very beginning they were trying to hold the A point, really messing up the location of the fight. So YS really dictating from the get-go, they're going to fight here, they're going to win that fight, and HS really didn't come together, pick another location, and just fought YS on their terms. So winners for the lower bracket SSR and YS. Tomorrow we get to see back into the second set of the knockout phase. So I did skip. So I skipped the Monday one and the Sunday one, which were double losers bracket. Double losers bracket? AoE SSR. Oh, wait, three sets of losers brackets. Why are there three sets of losers matches? I'm so confused a bit here. Losers, one, two, three, four. Wait, one, two, three. Didn't watch the Sunday one. That's a legit matter. Oh, okay, no. Monday and Wednesday are losers bracket. So the Sunday one wasn't losers bracket. There was actually phase one of the knockouts. First first knockout. So these two are the losers one. The next two are back on for the knockout phase. So we get to see ING versus CNC. From what I'm told from ING, they are probably the strongest China mainland team that we can expect to see in this tournament, facing off against our historic champions from Asia division, the CNC. Following that, we have BPJT versus OISU. Again, two very strong teams. They're both in my top three. Definitely the best I can expect from Asia in terms of competition for CNC, but I don't think they have the ability to kick CNC off of their throne this season. So we're just gonna have to wait and see if they do match up against them. But I'll see you guys tomorrow to watch those matches. Until then, my name's Azakai. Have a nice day. Bye now.